Hey, how's it going, guys? And welcome to the Exploring Creative Minds podcast. I'm your host, Judah Hooper. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Mingjun Zheng, who is a writer and director. Um, Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
um, so let me start with how did you get started to where you are today? Like, what got you interested in filmmaking?
I would say photography because in high school we have like elective classes and then I started to take photos. Not trying to brag, I'm really good at that.
Okay.
Like filmmaking is not like just one image. It's like 24 frames per seconds. And then I found it like really challenging with the 24 frame because
Mm,
taking one image is just like boom like right there and then you can do Photoshop. It's pretty simple and easy. um, but filmmaking is all about collaboration. It's
mm.
not only like you like a solo being there and then you can make a whole masterpiece. So that is how I get into film. I find it really challenging. And also by that time, I was like, during high school, we try to figure out what we want to do, what we want to be, what's the major that we want to study.
Right.
When I was little, I always want to be an entrepreneur, like my father as. And then with a time, like a one semester of study film, I realized film can also be business. That is how it get me to filmmaking today.
Wow. So, what
Yeah,
what did your dad? You say your dad's an entrepreneur. What does he
yeah.
do?
So we basically do investment and like um, in different area in China.
Mm,
So he's really experiencing on the business side of the um, of different industrial.
mm.
Basically, he do investment like real estate, hotel, like all of that, etc. Like there's a lot.
Oh, got it. So it's like it's
Yeah,
variant. Got it.
yeah.
Um, did you grow up here or in China or what was that like?
I was born in China, Guangzhou, which is like southern part of China, and then I moved here like probably 10 years ago, like during eighth grade.
Eighth
I
grade.
don't remember. It's like a long time ago,
Right.
and
Middle school.
yes, middle school, and then yeah. So I grew up in Santa Monica for my high school life, and I moved to Pasadena for my college, and now I'm like at USC studying my grad degree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Congrats on that. What was like the first thing you noticed when you moved to the States when you were in eighth grade?
Hmm. Obviously, I think the most difference is like the diversity. I have
Mm,
to get, back in China, everyone speak Chinese, everyone's are Chinese. We don't fall into an identical crisis or like, because we know we are Chinese. But when I got here, I feel like the culture shock will be like, oh, everyone's trying to figure out who they are. And they might not be um, the biological, like I got a friend who are Asian adoptee. They got different they got a white dad and a Japanese mom. I got friends there, they have two dads. They're born in a really diversity environment, which is I don't really quite get that in China. So I think that's the biggest difference that I feel in here.
mm.
And I respect that because it opens my eyes to the world, and I feel like, oh, that can be another, you know, um, way to live, and for human being. Yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
diversity, yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
yeah.
never thought about that. Yeah, that makes sense.
hmm
So you said you were really interested in photography. How old were you when you said in high school kind of age
Yeah,
or what
yeah. It
kind of
was in.
yeah, like what kind of camera did you use?
I have a Canon 70. I forgot the model 70D. Then I shift to Sony. Yeah, so I was a Canon user. Now I'm like back in Sony.
Right.
I know people love Nikon. There's different pick at that time. Also, I use film camera to, it's more like a school camera that I use for, assignment. But by learning that technique in 35 millimeter, it get me into the technical part of filmmaking. So
35 millimeter. Did you do like 35 millimeter photography, or
yes,
wow? Okay.
yeah.
Do you remember what type of camera that was? That's very interesting. That's
It was like different kind that
cool. Mm,
school, like the school have, like equipments room have. So we rented out. I don't remember what exactly the model is. But it's like with the light meter in it. It's not that old fashioned. They still got the electronic light meter inside the viewfinder,
mm,
so you can see where exposed or where it's like you need more lights for the environments. Yeah.
right.
Uh
Okay.
huh.
That's very cool. So
Hmm.
did you have to learn in school like how to like process film and stuff?
Uh, Back in undergrad, yes. So we have a dark room. So we have to take photos from the film cameras. Then we they help us to develop the film.
Right.
Then we scan the film itself and then try to print it. That's the process we learn for basic photos.
Wow. And that's very fun. And so that was the process that you liked the most, was like the photograph of it.
Yeah, yeah. Then I found it really challenging with 24 frame, which is like not you don't have to you have to deal with like multiple images with probably 3 minutes. Is so different than photography. You only have to deal with one images, and then you can see the details on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Um so what led you to directing then? So you did photographs, and then what led you to directing? Did you start directing in like high school or when you were in undergrad, or when?
I think I remember the first film I was direct. It was a scary movie.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. Um, I found it really interesting because by that time I started to learn how to write a proper script. Because when we were doing essay in school, it was just like, ooh, full page of format, first person or maybe like third persons. There's nothing about dialogue, actions.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So
Yeah.
yes, and then by that time I started to get into the professional way of script writing, and then I know there's a thing called storyboard.
Yeah.
It will help me with a better, more smooth process of filmmaking with productions. Yeah, and I remember the movie is quite cringy at that time because I don't know like all of those editings um, process. But I learned a lot by failing that project. Like it wasn't
Mm,
like the best project in my life, but I learned so much from it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that.
Mhm.
So, you what was the story for that one? You said it's scary, so it was horror. What was it?
Yeah. It was just like jump scare.
Okay,
You
done.
you see, yeah, it's like a deliver package of a camera. Then the main character look at the camera, and he sees something in the camera. That's it. It's really simple. Um, but with all of those like muse sound design,
Yeah.
at that time I learned about what is room tone. Like
Mm,
there's a thing called room tone, right? And then during like undergrad study, there's more like we try to open the C stand, we try to get into lighting, camera and stuff. So I feel like I'm always been learning, even
of
though
course.
like now I'm in school. There's so much that I can learn in grad school.
Right. And
Yeah.
were were your parents supportive towards you when you chose filmmaking, or were they like, are you sure about that, or you know?
So basically, they were like, and then I quite like I make a PowerPoint to present to them like why I choose filmmaking, and filmmaking is not only what you see is because nowadays we're all um digital based on everything.
Mhm.
It's it's fulfilled in every industrial. Like they need videos, they need moving images. Then I try to convince my father, saying, "Oh, it's also part of the business. I can be a producer eventually. I can produce a lot of good films, but they also like can make me a lot of money from it." Yeah, and then they was like, "Okay, yeah, let's do that." And I'm the youngest kid in my family, so
Oh, okay.
I'll be like, it's less, hard, like it would be easier for me to convince them to choose the career path that I want.
Mm.
Yeah, because my sister wasn't that lucky at that time. She wasn't really firm on what she want to do, because during high school time I also started my own studio business.
Ooh.
Like I started to take photo for my for people and make music video for my clients. I
Mm.
tried to prove that I'm capable to make it work. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's that's crazy. So yeah, you
Yes,
how many siblings do you have?
I have two, one brother, one sister.
One brother, and you're the youngest, you said. Okay.
Yes.
By how far are you?
I'm 4 years apart from my brother, and then my brother and
Okay.
my sister, they're only 1 years apart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
So, do you feel like you kind of grew up in, by yourself in a way, and they were kind of like, you know what I mean? I get.
Yes. So yes, I was in boarding school when I was in kindergarten. So I was always like kind of alone,
Mm.
but they were kind of like on my side as well. Um, so whenever they go out and then having a stay over with their friends, and I was literally probably the first grade, I was just like go to my mom and say, "Oh, can I have a sleepover at my friend's house as well?" But I'm not mature enough to take care of myself at that time.
Right.
So my siblings are like kind of the model of me as like the mature adult.
Right.
And also like I I'm always by myself in like kindergarten, elementary school. I was always in boarding school.
Mm.
So the time that I'm kind of quite isolated from like the like quote unquote like in like living in a house every day, got picked up by parents. I'm quite like different
Right.
than the regular kids. So I love to start. I'm pretty. I'm an extrovert. Like if I'm in a party, I would be like, yeah, like let's
Hey
do it.
guys.
Yes, but I also enjoying staying like alone,
Mm.
because the time when you're alone, you think more.
Right.
It reflects more to your what you just talk, what you just react. You will The rethinking process is really important, I think, for
Mm.
my creating process.
Mm.
Yeah, because when I have a conversation with my friend that are not in film major, I realize that oftentimes they are try to escape from the problem they were facing.
Mm. It's true. True.
And for me, since I love to being like thinking by myself, the reflection process make me like logicalize what happened in my life.
Right.
And I feel like screenwriting will be the way that I recording everything that
Sure.
I just thought. Yeah.
So what inspires you to write? Speaking of that, screenwriting.
So I'm a big fan of sci-fi genre. Like
Right.
Black Mirror is actually the TV show get me into filmmaking,
Wow.
because with all the ethical and like deep reflection on how digital devices impacts human life. Um, that is really, how I get into sci-fi genre, but all the story that I made are based on my true experience. So
Wow.
I use my true experience to apply in a fiction world.
Mm.
And that's how I create FEMAI, the film that you watch on
Yeah.
LA Shorts. Yes. So I really enjoying that process. I don't really have a dramatic life. I'm a spoiled kid. Everyone loves me. I don't have like a toxic parents. I have a really healthy relationship with my friends. Um, but I see a lot of stuff. I observe a lot of stuff, and I talk to my friend with all of my feelings. I have no problem with sharing. It's just like the process of how to turn my real life experiences to a whole fiction world.
Right.
And that is what I felt about Black Mirror, because Black Mirror is all fiction, and
Yeah.
but it's so close to our future. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's like kind of a good predictions of the future life. You're probably like the next morning you wake up, the world would be changing,
Yeah.
just
Something like that.
like, yeah, the episode in Black Mirror. Yeah, so that is like why and how get me into writings.
Wow. Do you have a favorite episode of Black Mirror or what?
Huh.
it,
Oh, it's too hard.
it is too hard for that show. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the most memorable one will be the rating one, like you rating people on different stars.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And then there's like a recent one, they were in a video games. They talk about how with shift from marriage and the relationship in marriage, because the guy fall in love into his friends in the
Yeah.
video games.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
remember
So that get me like shocked when I was
that one.
watching it. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good show. It's very
Uh-huh.
there's nothing like it now. Besides that. Like it's the best version of I love that like it's, different actors and characters and
Yeah.
directors in each one and so what would you say is like the biggest challenges you've experienced as a director on a set?
Hmm. Time.
Yes, yeah. Good
Hmm.
answer.
Yeah,
Time.
time. Yeah, because it's really, you're kind of pressured by the times. You have to focus on the image so as the sound, because you're the only one can hear the dialogue. Maybe you get an extra pair of phone, like a phone for your AD, for your sound recorder, but they are not going to tell you about like the directing notes. You're the only one can direct your actor to
Mm,
to the character. You are the only one that can leave them to understand the story, which is can renaissance your audience to feel them. I
right.
think that is the hardest part for me, because the time compressions, and you really need to rehearse before the shoot. Um, yeah, that would be my biggest challenge. If I have like so much time, I would just waste my times on take it slow for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's a really good answer. Like time,
Hmm.
just time in
Hmm.
general is that really is always the challenge. And yeah, it's yeah. You do a lot of rehearsals with the actors beforehand, or like what's your
Yes.
process?
So basically, after casting, I would do a table read. But since all the pandemic happened, we try to do a table read online first. So you got to see each other's face. Get your actors, actresses to met each other, because that is really important for them to get into the character, especially if they are performing a sisterhood, like a brotherhood. They need a strong connection within each other's. They need so I feel like the table read for the first time is really important. Then we will move to in-person table read. Uh, Within that time, if I have some action film, just like FEMAI, like we have a really intimate scene with fighting. Um, we have an intimate coordinator by our side to kind of guide them to a really comfortable situation. Um, and then if I have more time, I would really do another rehearsal. Otherwise, I would just do a rehearsal before, like while my DP and gaffer doing the lighting on set.
Right.
That will be my process of the whole filmmaking. You build trust with your actors and actresses, and also you get to able to hear the dialogue and the line and the tone of like what's the change of the beats, and yeah, and is any like thing that you want to try differently, but you don't want to do too much because you don't want to
Right.
get the muscle memory for them to just deliver the line in the same way. So the balance of it is really a key for the rehearsal part.
Right. And
Yeah.
I discovered like with what I've done at least that like every actor is different.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like the rehearsals are like integral for me too because it's like you kind of learn the vibe of each actor and kind of learn how to make it a collective thing but also make them feel important individually. I've realized that like it's important to have both with
Yeah.
actors. And then like I realize like when at least when I'm directing like on set, like the less notes the better usually. So like you just want to be there for them as they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of like as they're sort of like processing these emotions and trying to get to where they know they need to go and where you've established in the rehearsals. So I try to give them their space and kind of focus more on just like you know trying to get it more than like that's why I feel like the rehearsals are so important because that's like the process to getting it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, do you give a lot of notes and stuff when you're on set or yeah?
I feel like when I was just got into, undergrad, yes, I did. I was really bossy. So I do have a conflict with one of my actor, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm doing." He's way mature than I do. He's like probably around his 60. So we have a whole like a really large age gap between I'm fresh, he's already experienced.
Yeah,
So he told me
see that.
that like I if I like perform differently, you got different choice in editing.
Right.
So after the process I'm learning, I give less no. More the no's I would give the most will be like try to listen to each other's.
Mm,
Really listen to what they really want to say.
right. That's
Yeah,
great advice.
yeah. That's the probably only notes that I give the most if I hear something kind of wrong. If they can adjust themselves, that would be perfect. That would be like great. If they keep the muscle memory acting, like this consistent acting, I would probably just step in a little bit and then try to tell about like, oh, that's why the character is trying to do this. Um, Maybe we can try out a different way. Uh, Maybe not all the characters are saying this like they should yelling at that. Maybe they do it really quiet sound. Um, I
Right.
mean, most of the process I would do it in the table reading like period. But on set, it's more like you get the production done. You know.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
exact same for me. Or it's like you're trying to
Yeah.
just like get everything done. You want to give them like it's like a balance.
Mhm.
And then there's so much that actors add just by like the way they move and like the way that they gesture, you know,
Mhm.
like there's so much they add just by doing that. When they get those right, like
Yeah.
if they that's in my experience at least, like when you are on the same page, it's pretty straightforward. Like
Mm.
you have you're on the same page of what the character is, and obviously what the character does,
Mhm.
and you agree on like how they present themselves in terms of their costume and their
Mhm.
hair, and then you tell them where they're going to be moving in the
Mhm.
scene, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward if you're on the same page. And then I like to, it's interesting that you say that, like there are some actors that like they want to do it in more of a muscle memory way where they do it the same way
Mhm.
um, every time, and then there are certain actors where they do it different. They never do it the exact same way, and there's only so much that you can control that, because
Mhm.
I've realized that like the more like controlling you are with performances specifically, like the more stilted and like wooden the
Mm.
performances feel. You know.
Mhm. I think the way you communicate will um it will be variation with different personality.
Mm.
Because I have actors that looks like they're not listening at me, but
Mm.
they're actually, it's just their habit to kind of look at the direction, like a long direction, and
Mm.
try to be focused.
Right.
um yeah, I found that kind of challenging at that time when I was working with him, because um I don't feel like I was paying attention by my actors, and I feel scary of that, because when I have the whole scene playing on the same day, uh, I don't know if I communicated well to him and he can get the meaning of what I want.
Right.
Because I feel like reactions is really important between you and your actor and actresses. Um, you just need to find a group vibe for each other's.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you yeah, exactly. You learn how they communicate essentially.
Yes.
Not everybody communicates the same way,
So,
and so you
yes.
kind of like you learn. Like I always ask them like, "Okay, what's your process?" I
Hmm.
do that with crew too. Like I'm not like, "Okay, here's what we're doing." I'm like, "Okay, what's your process before I start explaining what the vision is?" You know.
Hmm.
So
That's
yeah,
mhm.
you could go ahead. Sorry, my
No, no,
bad.
no, I would say it's like a really smart choice to ask, really straightforward, because you don't have to guess what they want,
Yeah.
uh, and what they need. Yeah.
um, how do you approach like choosing your crew? Because it's like, that's like what directing is. It's like balancing like the emotional with the
Hmm.
technical, especially
Hmm.
when you're on set.
Hmm.
So how do you approach, yeah, choosing your crew members?
First of all, they're real. If they are above the line, like if I'm gonna get a DP, the real is really important. But if they're like my AD, my grip, as long as they are polite and respect each other's, I think I have a way to work it out with them.
So they're
Uh,
real as in, yeah, like yeah, like the work they've done before, sort of
mm-hmm.
thing, for your
Yeah,
DP. Yeah.
and also you will communicate with them with your script when you're
Mm.
picking them, and you know, like they know you, because
Right.
it you say the same thing on the same speed,
Mm.
you know, and you it's the vibe that you get. It's like, you're going to an orientation. If your eyes look at the other people, they just say hi to you immediately, and you know that's your people. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, like I believe in the magnetic theory. um
Okay.
the right
Yeah.
people will attract to each other's.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so true, and that's something that I feel like
Uh-huh.
I underestimated um, when I first started, was like the importance of just being able to have like the right vibe with the person, because like
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna be spending a lot of time getting this together, so it's important. There are some people like that, like they do amazing work in their like reels and but you just don't vibe with them, or
Mm,
I had this problem of like a lot of people like just not respecting me in the beginning. I feel
mm,
like it's everybody gets like with different things that they're trying to do when they're starting out, but I think that was like a big hurdle that I had to like get through. I'm not sure how it was like for you when you first started getting like people beyond just you doing it by yourself.
mhm.
Like, what was that process like? Like when you first started like getting people to help you with your films?
There's like I would say there will be two situations. One is with, payment. Another one is like a favorite for you.
Yeah.
So in that two situation, I will definitely act differently because
Mm.
they are not supposed to volunteer at your film, right? Like you have to think like this. They're here to help you to learn from each other. So at that part, I would say um, I I don't have much requirements on them because I would love to create a loving studying environment for my film, for my set, but I wouldn't risk it if I spend so much money on my film, and I hire a bunch of volunteer friends, to chill in the set. So that shift to another situation that is someone I hire for my film,
Right.
right? Uh, so with that hierarchy and with that relationship, you have more, um, I would say, demand on them because you
Mm.
don't want them to fuck up your work. You
Yeah.
don't want them to not get the footage or transcode the footage or lost the footage. You want them to be professional. And within that process, I will act professional, still humble because I'm still learning. But don't let the power get over you because all the DP that I have worked with, they have more experience than I do,
Mm.
but they never like lecture me with, oh, you should do that or you shouldn't
Yeah.
do that,
Or you don't know what you're
right? we,
doing or
we don't
something
want
like
to
that.
see
Yeah.
that. Yeah, we don't want to see that on set. But also you have to have a really strong idea that that is what I want, and you have to
Mm.
make them believe, convince them that is the reason why I do it, because it's all for storytelling, all for the story. um, I think that is the way that can convince them to
Mm.
trust you, because you are the one who understand the story. You're the one who, as a director, you're the one who can lead your whole team to a
Right.
cohort. So the idea, the firm idea, the more idea. I mean, how do I say that? Like the more stable, the more
Okay.
on your idea,
Yeah.
the more they will trust you on it. Just don't
Yeah.
like, oh, let's do that and let's do A, and then but I was doing B. If you think of A, just do A. Show
Right.
them like you're a professional,
Yeah.
so
I
they
think
would. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a balance cuz like
Mhm.
you want to be open to ideas, when
Mhm.
you're on set, but you want to have like a plan that
True.
you think is right. It's like a balance, I guess. Like an example is like I was doing a shoot where this girl's dancing, right? And
Mhm.
my makeup artist, she came up with the idea of like, oh, she shouldn't wear shoes. It was something very simple like that. And I imagined it with her wearing like, ballet shoes.
Mhm.
But she was like, "Oh, she shouldn't wear any shoes." Sort of thing. And so we did it both ways essentially, and the one that's in the movie is the one that with no shoes. So, um,
Yeah.
there's it's always little things. It's never like
Yes.
they're not gonna try to change the whole freaking story. Usually, it's like something little, like oh, like I see that there's
Yes.
like a lamp in the background. Maybe it should be something else, like a mirror.
Yeah.
It's usually something little like that.
Yeah. So really back to the challenging part, time is really important because if
Yeah,
I have a lot of time, I can try like 10 ways of shooting it.
yeah,
So the pre-production is really important. Like
yeah.
you really need to get bunch of visual, research and bunch of visual idea, and then try to communicate it with image, with video, not only talking, because everyone's think different. Just
Yeah.
show them the picture. That's what I want. That's the color that I want.
Yeah, especially for the
Yeah.
crew. Especially for
Yes.
the crew.
Yes.
Like, yeah. The more visuals you have, the better. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like you
Mm-hmm.
said, because everybody interprets what you're saying in a different way. So
Yes.
true.
Yeah.
You know, um, yeah. That's. I mean, yeah. It's interesting. It's a fun process. Like where you have like a plan. Do you have like a lot of backup plans when you shoot something, or like yeah, like yeah, you know what I mean.
So far, I would say I write all the shots that I want
Mm-hmm.
on my storyboard, but not every time I can get them. So with my shot list, I would say maybe I can get them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think that as a backup plan,
Mm.
because sometimes it's not only about the shooting schedule. It's probably like, oh, someone just messed up, or like the light falls. There's so many different situations that you couldn't think about a plan
Yeah.
B. You have to think about the plan B as it happened.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that is like the art of filmmaking, because you need to think fast to solve all
Yeah.
the problem. Especially now I work as a producer more. That is like the challenging part of my work, because what if your crew member like, oh, allergic to that food, and then you didn't get the exact food that they want, and what happened to the locations is like, oh, you could the owner just told you, oh, you can't shoot it here anymore. What if
Yep.
that happened? Yeah, so as a producer, I feel like that is something we have to be really flexible with, like
Right.
always have a plan B, but just think about the plan B beforehand, and then if not, just think of it right away as it
Right.
happened. Yeah.
It's almost like filmmaking is like you're working against, like you said, time, but like really reality in itself.
Yes.
Because like
Yes.
there's always something like that like brings you back, and you're like, okay, we have to do this. Like you said, like a light goes out, or someone didn't show up until later because their car broke down, or the food didn't come in on time. There's always some sort of problem thing. And
Mm-hmm.
the best thing about having a crew is that they help you through those problems. It's not all on you as the director or even the producer. It's like, you have to make the call, obviously, but you don't have to like move the lights yourself and, figure out, like you just have to lead the way. And that's the cool thing about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
learning how to delegate and being like, okay, like we're all in this together. It's not just, it's not just me, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And creating a team.
That's true.
And I remember I realized how important it is to have like team meetings too. Like something as simple as just being together, either before or in the middle of your shooting, and being like, okay, how is everybody feeling right now? Does everybody understand what we're doing? Something as simple as just a meeting like that, it really helps
Mm-hmm.
create a team vibe, you know?
That's true, yes. With the safety meeting, and safety is the most important thing on set, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So important, And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, yeah, I really like that. That's probably my favorite part about directing
Mm-hmm.
is the sense of a team
Mm-hmm.
and like coming up with things together, because it's way more fun, you know, um, than doing it yourself personally. I think like it's more fun being in that environment and stuff. You know, um, so I mean, were you always creative? Like growing like or no, you no.
I'm a
Yeah,
human. I born from my, like my mom.
right.
I'm just like everyone. I have a low tie on my creative process. But the fun part about filmmaking is you don't have to be, as a director all the time. Or maybe you direct, but you don't have to write all the time, right? and then so you can adapt your a really good writer's script, and then transfer to the vision that you have, or use your aesthetic choice to enlighten that whole story. Maybe as a creative producer, you can give some notes to your crew, to your director. I think that is why I feel like filmmaking is so important with as a team, just like you
Yeah.
say, because you don't you're we are human. We are not always being creative, or like,
Mm.
yeah, we need to learn the process. We need to learn different thing to be creative. We have to
Mm.
experience a different thing to be creative. um,
Mm.
so really if I feel like I'm quite out of idea, I would really rather just go out and talk to my friend, have a party, or go to a gallery, go to a museum,
Ooh, yes.
see different thing, watch movies, read
Yes.
books. That would be like all of those different technique that I get if I'm out of ideas.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to live life as
Yes.
well. It's something yeah, that's it's so important because that's where you get your inspiration from.
The balance, yes.
Yeah. Um
Especially we are still young, and look
yeah.
at all the famous director. They are all like on the middle age,
Yeah, 40s
yes,
and 50s.
40, 50, and
Yeah.
then they are capable to tell a story more mature than we do, but we
Mm.
have different visions at this time. So I would say live your life, cherish your vision, film whatever you feel like you want.
Right.
That's like, just hold up your camera, no matter it's a phone or what. That's the time you want to make films, or tell a story, or write it down. you know
Yeah.
yeah,
And a lot of people don't realize that you just have to just do it. Just
yeah,
do it,
just do it. Yes.
you legitimately, that's it. Like people are like, how do I become a filmmaker? How do I do? It's like you got to put yourself out there and just do it. You're not the first
Mm-hmm.
thing you make is not going to be a masterpiece. It's just you have
Yeah.
to. I have a good friend who told me to trust the process of life,
Mm.
and that's
Mm.
something that has stuck with me for since he told me because it's like it's not always going to be great. The way that you get to the good things creatively is by going through the bad things. Usually, you know,
That's yes.
and so you have to trust the process. Like, okay, this isn't going to be. It's like writing a first draft, expecting it to be like Aaron Sorkin or something. Like it's not
Yeah.
going to be. You have to trust like the process of getting to where you feel like it's good enough to show other people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Y-
And you always have to believe there's always a better film.
Mm, right.
I feel like that's the method. Like, just do the film that you want to tell the story that you want to tell, but don't give you like yourself a really harsh feeling on, oh, I have to make this perfect. There's not
Yeah.
a thing in the world that's like perfect. uh if you tell the story in a, like, your audience get it, yeah, like the next time you make it, let's make the cinematography better, add the element, like do the sound design, and that will really encourage you to do more and more good films in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't exactly. That's a
Mm.
great way to like
Mm-hmm.
what even is perfection? Like, it's
Yeah.
like how would you define
Mm-hmm.
something that's perfect? Like there's never been something that's
Mm-hmm.
perfect. It's like you want to learn from your
Yeah.
mistakes and your experiences and that's how you grow. But, you know,
Yes.
you can't strive to, like you said, be perfect with every little movie you make. Um
Mm-hmm.
and all. You just have to be you, you know?
Mm.
Sort
Yes.
of thing. Be you, sort of thing. um, were you like a straight A student growing up? I just yeah.
I would say yes and no.
Yes
Like,
and no. Okay.
yeah, yes for most of the time, but I do get some, rebellion moment that I don't even want to go to school. I ditch school because
Whoa.
my parents doesn't know.
Nice.
Uh, I'm always like in boarding school. I also live in an apartment by myself later on in
Mm.
my high school life. So
Wow.
um, if I don't feel well, or I don't, sometimes I have some emotional depressions. Uh,
Mm.
I would try to run away like from what my daily routine is. I feel like that is really important nowadays because we are all in the rat race. We
Mm.
try to compete with each other with nonsense. So it's
Right.
okay, to just run away from a little bit. Try to slow down, um, to think differently, and then maybe just not thinking at all, just staying there and then just chill, just stay survive and healthy. Because
Right.
I feel like that's the most important thing after years of filmmaking. We work like 12-hour a day. I even in China work 15-hour a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. I was having a numbing system, problem while I was in on set. So I was in
Oh my
hospital
gosh.
for a few days, and at that moment, I feel like health is really important for filmmaking. Safety is important. You need to survive to keep telling story, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I hope everyone can do it because I lost my friends. They don't have a really safety construction in on set. So
Mm.
he unfortunately he passed away.
Oh no.
Um, yeah. So with all the experience I have, everything that I see, I would really want to tell everyone that don't give yourself a hard time if you couldn't be creative or you couldn't be perfect. It's okay. We're all human being, and then
Right.
yeah, I know like the whole filmmaking process are harsh, uh, but yeah, just live your life first, and then before you make films. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to come first in your life, and like you said, your
Hmm.
health and your well-being, Did
Hmm.
you feel like you had to sort of grow up early because of the way you were raised, sort of thing? Like yeah,
Yeah,
I, I could tell.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Uh, but when I'm in a romantic relationship, I would immediately become a kid because like that's the vibe that you kind of lost when you were growing up. I'm always by myself. Like when I pee on my bed, I have to roll the bed and then give it to my teacher. Like the
Yeah.
whole process wasn't like I cry and then like, mom, what should I do? It's like I just need to clean it up by myself.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a really good question to enlighten me for my because I
Yeah.
never think about that. Like I would think about it's a gift for me, to you know push myself to grow up.
Right.
But also I would say it's harsh for me to not being as a kid when I was a kid.
Right.
I lost the sense of being naive, being childish.
Mm.
um it's some and as a adult it's really hard to keep that part of me because
Right.
you have to be responsible when
Of
the
course.
older you get,
Mm.
the less naive you can be. uh but filmmaking and creating process is like you need to have those childish thoughts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You almost
Like
have
I
to
want to
have
do
that.
this. Like you have to have the stupid thought, no
Yeah.
stupid questions.
Yeah. I feel like that's what makes like life interesting is creating, like I feel
Hmm.
like it's interesting how you go to like I don't know, you go to like a kindergarten class and they're all doing something
Hmm.
creative in some way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
Whether that's like finger painting or like making different kinds of foods or it's like coming up with different games or like most kids, especially really, really young kids, are creative in some way. So
Hmm.
why do you feel like that gets lost with a lot of people? Like as they get older, like there's a lot of people that they don't do anything creative, you know, you
Right.
know, like as when they become an adult. you know?
I feel like peer pressure will be the biggest mm, issue that they couldn't
Mm,
deal with, especially now we're on like social media. You see everyone like, showing off their lifestyle. Like, I'm at the beach, I have this
yeah.
luxury bag. I think that's what my sister have experienced nowadays, like getting married, having a children, get prepared of, get a give birth to a child. Like,
Yeah.
all of that is, it's like, is she really want that, or just the society put her in the position that she needs to complete everything?
Right.
Like the checklist of your life, you have to be
Yeah.
perfect to,
Dun, dun,
dun dun dun, like all of that stuff. Yeah, that's probably why we kind of lose all of that, like childish sense, and really pure um, sense of self.
mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
And
like
yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's a good thing. Is you said pressure and stuff,
Mhm.
and that's so true. I feel like that's kind of the downfall of like education in like especially in the first 12 years is like
Mhm.
it's all about conditioning you to think and act a certain way. And
Mhm.
so I feel like a lot of people they kind of lose sight of like not just themselves but like the sort of creative, like you said,
Mhm.
childlike creativity kind of stems from your
Mhm.
childhood, really.
Mhm.
With most people in some way it stems from your childhood. So um it's sad that like people lose that as they get older,
Mhm.
you know, because I feel like that's like the biggest thing that separates us from other creatures, like every creature, tries to protect themselves and has a family and stuff like that, and that stuff is important, but like most creatures don't create in the way that we can. That's like the
Mhm.
thing that separates them the most, I
Mhm.
feel like,
Yeah. So to choose be alone or like think alone, that's really important,
mm,
because we were taught to, to survive in the community.
right.
So it's better sometimes that you just step out a little bit, just live for yourself. That's why I ditched school. And, and like just rebel, but in a good way, not like,
Right.
taking risks of your life. That might be too harsh for
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
It's a
Um
balance for
it's a
sure.
balance. It's like yin and yang, yin and yang. Like,
Yeah.
you need to balance the whole circle. Um, yeah, because you don't want to lose. Like, if you're being really creative but you're a jerk, no one will like you, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to be polite, respectful, because that's what we learn from the community.
Mm.
But at the same time, you have to step away or step aside to feel yourself, and then just make yourself happy. Because um but not all the time, for sure, because we are all sad all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, just like be flexible about what you were thinking, and then just think outside the box um, for a while and balance it. It's really difficult. We probably have to do it for our whole life.
Right.
But yeah, that would be my method if I want to stay longer on this earth.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm with you. Uh,
Yeah.
so I see you have a guitar in the background. Do you play?
A little bit, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, when I was
nice.
in high school. But with the time passed by, I don't have time to touch them anymore. So now it's more like a decoration for my studio. Yes.
That's
I
very cool.
start I started to play classical with all the
Oh,
fingerings, yes,
wow.
and then I shifted more in acoustic guitar that can play more, pop music,
Yeah.
chorus, yeah. Then filmmaking kind of distract me with, all the busy editing. Sometimes I play if I feel super stressful.
Mm. Yeah,
With
same
the
here.
time, yeah, with the
It's
time
like
that's much.
therapeutic, you know?
Yes,
It's a
yes.
therapeutic vibe. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I play music as well. I love yeah, exactly with that. So it's like I'm frustrated or like you said, I'm stressed out. Like sometimes playing
Mm-hmm.
music, it's like therapy, you know,
Yes,
sort of thing.
yes,
What kind of guitar is that? Is like a Martin? Looks like a Martin guitar to me.
yes. It's Martin, and then it's acoustic guitar. Yeah, but right now it's mostly decorated on the
Right.
corner. Yeah, I haven't changed the string for a long time, so I
Mm.
should have done that. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, did you sing as well, or do you sing as well when you are, just playing for fun?
Playing, yeah, yeah. So, karaoke is a big culture for Asians.
Oh,
So we
okay.
go to karaoke a lot. It's not like the karaoke bar that you think of. Like we got a really private room, and then you can
Ooh.
just pick the song you like. Yeah, that's like the entertainment for an Asian culture.
Wow, karaoke. Yeah.
Yes,
I've
yes.
done that a few times. Not in the way that you're describing it. That sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
You're in
It's
a
like a
room.
party that with your friend, yes, in a room, and then you
Mm.
got to order different food.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, I think you will see it in most of the Asian film if they're like criminal film, like thriller, because all the like gangster they were there at the
Yeah.
karaoke and then having some secret deal.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
true. That's
scene.
true. Now that's
Yes,
yeah, they have like suits and
yeah,
it's like this like dramatic like
yes,
LED lighting and they're like we need to talk
yes,
about this.
yeah. That's the
Yeah.
location.
What
But we do it in a more healthier way.
right, right. That sounds cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yes.
Uh
Mm-hmm.
what are you working on right now? So you have some short films out in theaters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What are you working on right now?
Yes. So now I'm in school, in grad school. It's my
Right.
second week for the
Wow.
first semester. Yes. I'm meeting a lot of talented people, around the world. And that's been like, what am I up to now? I'm creating short film in school for Simon, trying to learn more on the producing side. Because I was always focusing on directing when I was in
Mm.
undergrad, and now I want to shift to more, I don't want to be a starving artist. So I want to shift to my life that I can work professionally in the future. I can
Right.
get a job as a producer. Then I can collect my story while I'm growing. So in the future, I will hope like I got more story to tell and more independent film or more, maybe a feature film that I can produce or direct.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Is that would you say like what's your like dream life? Like if you close your eyes and you're like
hmm
your dream life, what would that look like?
I have a really boring answer and a really interesting question. Answer.
Okay. Okay.
The boring one would be just stay healthy, stay alive. That would be my dream life because I see a lot of people like suffering on disease, illness. That is like my dream life. Right? But the interesting one it would be I want to be a well-rounded producer.
Mm.
I can help people tell their story, and then especially increasing Asian Americans' voices in the Hollywood industrial because we don't really. It's only like everything everyone all at once. Crazy Rich Asians. There is Past Life just released. I want the Hollywood, the film industry, have more and more minority voices. I can have produced film from Latino, like
Mm.
their voices are um, have to be heard.
Right.
Um, but just someday in the future that I can produce them, that will make me really proud of. With different ethnic, different race, with the diversity, with the thing that I
Mm.
just come here and the first thing that you know, I see in
Right.
America. Yeah. So I want to embrace that and, expand that to the Hollywood industrial. Yeah.
Right.
That's like my dream life. Yeah.
That's awesome. So would you want to like
Yeah.
have like a studio or like um I don't know.
I would. I would say that, yeah, if I am capable to, start my own business, like have a studio that are just like A24, that more inclusive, but
Mm,
in West Coast, A24 in West Coast, because
yeah,
West Coast nowadays more like a big studio, um, um, way of, filmmaking. We should welcome more, independent films,
yeah.
or maybe make shift the independent film, or like combine independent film to the studio film, like
Yeah.
uh yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah. So yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I miss those movies that were like a good balance. Like,
uh-huh.
you don't see a lot of movies like that. Like, it's either like a big bombastic kind of like superhero movie, or it's like a really really small like million
Yeah.
dollar kind of movie. Like, there's not a middle
Mm-hmm.
ground, really.
Mm.
Um, what's your favorite film?
Oh, I don't
It's
pick
hard, yeah.
favorite. It is hard. Yeah, I mean, I can be a big fan of sci-fi, her Blade Runner, but I can also be, Wong Kar-wai's film. I'm
Nice.
in love with his film. Yeah, so I really don't pick a favorite, but yeah, but I would say, um, I will have a favorite film for each day if I'm keep watching film. Yeah.
Yeah, I get you have like a mood for like depending on like what the
Yes.
mood you're in. And I get that. I have like a list of like movies
Mm-hmm.
of my favorites, so I get it. It's not just one, Like all of these
Yeah,
posters are like my favorite movies. There's not
that's
just one.
cool. Yeah.
Most filmmakers don't have
Yeah.
one, I guess. Now I think about it,
Yeah.
it's a series, but yeah, I love sci-fi too. I had like a sci-fi phase where every movie
Mm-hmm.
I watched is like
Yeah.
sci-fi. You know, um, like Blade Runner, like you said, and
Mm-hmm.
there's that Christian Bale movie. It's called what's it called? Equilibrium. I think is what it's called.
Oh,
It's really good. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty good.
yeah. I will check that out. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Equilibrium.
Let me check that.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
from like early 2000s or something.
Uh-huh. That's cool. Yeah, I will check that out for sure.
Okay, yeah, It's
Yes.
yeah, it's like 1984 kind of. It's similar to that story.
Ooh. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm checking the images
yeah,
online. Yeah.
yeah. He wears like the all black coat and all that.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and
Yeah. Ooh. It give me a vibe of like Dune, but in action film, and
yeah,
all the s- alliance on the background actress in the background. Yeah.
yeah. You've seen Minority Report, right? The Steven
Mhm.
Spielberg movie.
Mhm.
That one's
Mhm.
good as well.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, but we need more females director for sci-fi film for sure. Because
Oh yeah.
yeah, because females in sci-fi films are quite kind of objectified a little bit. Because they're
It's
always being
true.
like in Blade Runner, like we see the
They're all
no
prostitutes,
yes,
literally.
yes. So we need to shift the idea a little bit. I love the film, but it's just like the concept in it. We
It's
need to kind
definitely a
of,
male perspective,
yeah,
for sure.
definitely a male perspective. Yes.
Yeah, we definitely need it for sci-fi,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. And I love that about your movie is that it was in more of a female perspective and stuff,
Thank you.
you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you for doing this, Ming
Thank
Jong. I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is yeah, very fun. So
It
appreciate
was
it.
really nice to talk to you. You
Yeah,
asked a
it
lot of
was.
good questions. I'm
Yeah.
not sure I'll give the good answer to you, but
Oh, you
good
did it. You did
questions.
amazing.
Yes, yes, cool.